Yeah, man, it's the 30th of June, 2023, officially the halfway point of the year. Um, I want to talk about a few things in this video. One is uh, telepathy, artificial broadcast telepathy, and some of the things that they do, the capabilities. It's like, and then I also want to talk about just some in general targeting stuff and some of the ways that these gang stalkers annoy me with their full-time obsession, 100% of their life dedicated to whispering all weird at me going, Kevin, hey, hey, hey. One of the things about broadcast telepathy, okay, so if you have not experienced gang stalkers talking to you where you hear them out loud, where you're like, where's that coming from? And you're searching around and everywhere looking for like some hidden speaker or something like that. And you're going to come up with all kinds of wild concepts of how is this happening. And it's like the beginning phases. You know, I can remember when they first started doing it to me knowingly. Okay. And there's a big difference with broadcast telepathy, if it's knowingly or if it's unknowingly. And if you don't know, then you might just think all kinds of stuff is going on and you don't even know about targeting. Maybe you don't understand what's going on. Maybe you just think you have tinnitus. It's when you hear all the time, tinnitus. These like frequencies that they'll just turn on a frequency and it's like you're it's not your ears ringing, but you just hear a high pitched frequency. They could just turn it on. They could just turn it on to try to drive you insane and to degrade the quality of your life, to try to ruin your day. Now, the way I look at it is time is value. And if they're trying to do something to ruin your day and try to make your time miserable, and they're doing it intentionally, and that's why they're doing it, then there's a value on that. Okay, and if you sit around all day, every day for years and years and years and degrade somebody's quality of life and steal their time away and steal their enjoyment of life away, then you owe them something. Now, the big thing about gang stalkers is, can they afford it? Can they afford to be liable for something like that? They can't. They can't, because my time is expensive. That's the way I look at it. I value my time a lot. That's all you got, right? You got time, you got people, and everything else is just bullshit. All right. And so that's really all that's real. And it's all that you can't, you can get all the money in the world. You can get all the possessions and things and all that kind of stuff that you want, but you're not getting any more time. You're not getting any more time. You might be able to prolong your time slightly in the later years if you have tons and tons of money to deal with advanced doctors to keep you alive for a little bit longer. How enjoyable would that be for you? I don't know, but I mean, perhaps you can buy a little more time, but basically, your youth and the in most enjoyable times of your life, these gang stalkers are trying to steal that away from you. They're basically they're just taking it by force, and I think capital punishment would be good. I think lethal injection would be a great legal way to put them to death. I do. I really believe that, because they're that horrible. Because I've had to endure these parasitic, obsessed people forcing themselves upon my life, day in, day out, every minute of every hour of every day of every week of every year of a decade plus now. So we're in the 11th year. Now, artificial telepathy, when you hear that term, if you have not experienced artificial broadcast telepathy, it's going to lead you to think a lot of things and make assumptions in your mind and try to perceive it some sort of way. And so you might say, oh, like it's a voice in your head, and it's not. You might think that it's like telepathy, like somebody talking to you in your mind, and it's not. Now, can a thought hit your mind that's not your thought? Yes, absolutely, 100%. A thought that's not yours can 100% hit your mind, and you can perceive it. You can comprehend it. Okay, and the difficult part if you don't know about what's going on and you don't have neural monitoring, and then you have to decipher and distinguish between your own thoughts and receiving something from somebody that's connected to you unconsensually on neural monitoring. Do you have to hear it? No, you do not have to hear it. You can just receive it. And then it's not that hard if you know what's going on. Well, obviously, I didn't just think that weird shit. I got a bunch of weirdo gang stalkers connected to me, and it becomes a lot easier when you understand what's going on. You don't have to hear it. Okay, but when they're talking to you, it also kind of hits your mind like a thought. Okay, but you hear it, but it's not. You don't hear it in your mind. You hear it out loud, coming from somewhere, and it's a broadcast signal. It's a frequency. It's a signal. All right, just like if I call you, all right, cell phone to cell phone, and somebody 20 feet away from you, they don't hear it. They don't hear your cell phone conversation. Your cell phone hears it because it's on a certain frequency. Okay, when cell phone signals are flying through the air, they're not sound waves, and they're signals. Okay, and you're not going to hear those with your ears as a sound wave. And that's one thing that people get confused on too when they're talking about broadcast telepathy or trying to think about it. And typically we've all been through this where oh, you hear that, and nobody else hears it. Nobody else hears it, and it's because it's not a sound wave, and you're not going to hear a sound wave. And I'm going to keep talking about this for a minute. So another thing is the recordings. Okay, you use your recording application or some sort of recording device that's using a microphone, which records sound waves. And so you're trying to record sound waves, and you're actually there we go. What you're attempting to record is a signal. All right, so I've had so many people, and I've done this myself. You record something and you're listening to it, and gang stalkers love to play this game, and they'll continue to where you think you hear something, and they know what you're thinking, and they act on that because you're, in a sense, your mind controlling them to make this action with broadcast telepathy to try to trick you. So, for example, so I can explain it where you can understand. If I make a recording, okay, with a voice recording application, and then I listen back to it, and I'm thinking, oh, did I just hear them say something? Did I just hear them say whatever? And then you listen back, and right around you're like, oh, yeah, okay, at 13 seconds I heard them say this, and you're listening, and then you're listening right at 13 seconds, and these gang stalkers, they love it. It's their favorite game. And they'll try to say that exact thing and like make it seem like it's in the recording. And then you're like, okay. Hey, listen. I got them on recording. See, can you hear this? Can you hear this? And you're trying to get everybody to listen to your recordings, and you look like a nutcase. Absolutely, because it's not in the recording. And what I also get is a lot of people saying, oh, I hear them in your videos, and I hear, I hear them saying this, and I hear them saying that. What you hear is your gang stalkers, okay, playing around. And if you don't hear gang stalkers with broadcast telepathy talking out loud to you, then it is very possible still to hear them in other ways, where it's dispersing off of some other sound. Like if you are listening to a video on headphones, or if you got some music playing or something, it could easily come through that as like a disbursement, because the sound waves actually disperse the signal, and then you can hear it. But as far as getting a signal in a recording, you might get a little piece of something here and there every now and then, and it's very rare, something that just kind of glitched and bled through somehow and got into your microphone sound wave recording, and you might actually get a little bit of something every now and then, okay? But basically, you're trying to record something that's not a sound wave, so it's not going to work. Technologically, it doesn't make sense, All right. So if you're trying to record a radio wave, okay, you would receive it with a radio receiver, and then you would play it out loud on a speaker, and then you would record those sound waves. But when Hot 97 or whatever your stations are, nobody even listens to radio anymore, but we used to have like 99.7 and 107.9, and those are like the radio stations. You could tune your radio into that, and but you can't hear it flying through the air. You can't hear that flying through those signals, and you're not going to hear them, okay, because they're signals. But you can receive them with a radio signal receiver and then play them out loud. But when you're trying to record a signal with something that records sound waves, you're working with two different things. And so it's not, technologically, it's not even supposed to work. But like I said, you might catch an interference every now and then. Okay, what is way better of a plan and way more likely to be successful is something that I've had success with when I even cared to try back in the day, was using something that operates on signals to try to intercept signals. So basically, I would use a cell phone, and I would use some other device. It could be a cell phone or a landline or anything you can come up with that can call something. And I would call my cell phone. And then with the cell phone, when I called it, I would run a call recording app. And so it would record the cell phone conversation, but there was no conversation because it was me calling myself from another phone. And then I would just keep that phone near me that had the cell phone call recording app running. I would just keep it near me and be quiet. And then a lot of the times, not a ton of times, but way more often than trying to record signals with a sound wave recording device, when you try to record it in that way, you're actually picking up more interference into your cellular signal. So then it comes through, receives that, and it comes through on the audio side and records that as like it was your cell phone conversation. And basically you're picking up a signal of that's coming to you. And since that phone is close to you, and cellular and broadcast telepathy must be close enough for it to interfere. And what would happen is I would call myself with one phone to another, use the call recording app, and I would be able to listen back and actually hear people. Okay, and when I say actually hear people, I mean I would even put the files on my audio programs and be able to see the sound waves and verify that these things are actually in the recording. And what I would hear was very eye-opening because it was people. And the people, I knew them. I knew some of them. And I would hear, exact people talking, and you could verify from the conversations who they were and what they were saying. And they are people that I know are gang stalkers, and they are people that I know personally. And I'm sitting at home with two phones calling myself and somehow picking up some people that are somewhere else. And the reason was because they were on my neural monitoring and it was picking them up. And the funny thing is, it was picking up, it wasn't picking up like the broadcast telepathy of people that I was hearing. It was just picking up people that were connected to me that I know are gang stalkers, but they weren't even the ones that were talking to me. It was just picking up like other people that I know closely and that I know are gang stalkers, that I know have neural monitoring, and that I've said from the beginning are involved with my neural monitoring targeting situation. So that's something you got to really think about when you're dealing with this kind of thing. Is you're dealing with signals, and they are there, okay. And if you could figure out your neurological frequency, your EMF signature neurological frequency, then you could figure out some kind of device that you could tune to that frequency. Then you would be able to clearly receive anybody that's connected to you, and that would be game over. That would be game over. Now, how to get your neurological EMF signature frequency, like your frequency, and for the doubters or whatever, like if you really just look into it, look into EEGs type devices or anything that people use to, like, there was a guy that made a thing, a guy from Harvard that made a thing where you wear it around and it like connects or like touches the bone behind your ear, and it's able to receive your thoughts and like help you type and things like that. But like you could just think about what you want to type. There's things that you can buy that are like remote control, that you can wear a thing on your head to like control it with your mind. All kinds of things, like the guy Stephen Hawking that had the whatever it was that he had, that he could just think what he wanted to say and it would say it for him, because he had some kind of health problem. I don't know what it was, but he was like a physicist or some kind of scientist, or like one of the geniuses of our time. And he would be able to just think what he wanted, and it would come out of that speaker. And the speaker thing, it sounded like that. One of those. The voice was one of those things from like the '80s. Those little. It was like the first little spell and play type of little toys or something like that. It was like to help people learn how to spell, like kids learn how to spell, and it was that little computer voice, and he used that as his voice. Anyway, the point is that all of these things, that they're out there, okay, and they work off of your neurological frequencies, and so there must be some way to figure out your neurological broadcast frequency. All right, and there must be some way to do that. And so that's neural monitoring in general works like that. Okay, but back to the frequencies. Okay, you might be hearing all these frequencies and be talking about tinnitus or thinking about tinnitus or something like that. And what you're dealing with, they just turn on a frequency, and they do it to try to ruin your life as much as they can. And that's the kind of thing that they'll do before you know what's going on, before they're allowed, or before they've decided to start targeting you, before you had a surgery or something that they could try to have you associate with them starting for real, where they sit there and talk to you, all day long, every day, which is what they'll do. They'll wait for some life event to try to throw you in the wrong direction. Like, oh, he just went and had blood taken. Let's start now, and he'll think that they implanted a microchip, and then he'll blame it on them, and we'll always be behind the curtain, and that's the kind of thing that they do. And you know what I think we should do to them? That right there. I think we should do that about 10,000 times to each of them. Now, think about the whole thing with the frequency, all right? Because a lot of people think, that it's got to be like them talking to you. It doesn't have to be. There could be a frequency. They could do any sound they want to. Back in like 2013 and 14, before they actually started talking to me, before I knew that I was being targeted. All my stuff was hacked, and they were playing games and watching my life unconsensually and doing these shows, these broadcast neural monitoring shows about me before I even knew it. But at that time, like, I remember I would go out on my back patio, and every time I would go out there, whether it be 10 o'clock at night or 4 o'clock in the morning, every single time I would hear this car squeal. And I was like, man, always squealing out over there. It was like the next street over or something. And it was every time. And it starts to be like all these weird coincidences like that. And it was like 2 or 3 years later, like probably 2016 or 17, when I actually figured out, because they were doing it. Like, at this point, they were talking and everything, right? And then all of a sudden it just dawned on me, like, oh, because they were still doing it, okay? And I was like, that was them. That was them doing it the whole time, And I figured that probably out in 2016, after they would already did it for 2 or 3 years. And for the first 2 years, I didn't even know about targeting or remote neural monitoring or broadcast telepathy or any of that. And little things like that, where it's like they could sound like somebody just said something in the other room or something. And you're like, what? And that's the kind of things where they can mess with you before you know what's going on, before they've even actually started talking to you, where you don't really know what's going on. So, broadcast telepathy is like a big part of it. It's a huge part of neural monitoring and gang stalking. They do all kinds of stuff with that. And, and when they say something to you, even though you hear it, you also kind of receive it, and it makes you want to talk along with them. So it's almost like to hear it is mind controlling you. So it's almost like you're wanting to say it while you're hearing it, and because you're receiving it, so you feel it. And if you get tied up with some gang stalkers that you don't particularly like the people or their personalities. I mean, obviously we can't stand any gang stalkers, but there's always going to be certain people that you just don't vibe well with and that disgust you. And it's way worse when you have gang stalkers that disgust you because their personality's gross, like, and you're stuck with them and they won't go away and they're forcing themselves on you, and it makes you want to do something about it. And it's nasty. It's disgusting, and I could fully understand how it could be beneficial to have people that, you're comfortable with or that you vibe well with, to be connected with on that level. And that could be fine to some extent. You always want to have peace and privacy and your own time to think for yourself, and that's what we miss the most, because we don't get that at all. We never get we never get peace and to think freely, because every time you think something, once you become fully targeted and they won't shut up or go away and they're obsessed and everything else, you can't even think nothing. And as soon as you think something, they act on that, either to bother you or thinking that they want to answer you like it's a conversation, like you care about what they say. Or if, like a little while ago, I was thinking, man, it's quiet, like I need to take it full advantage of this while I'm having this time to myself and it's really quiet, to like focus on my schoolwork. And I'm trying to read these economics chapters. I'm in an economics class right now too, so trying to read these economics chapters, and I have a test that's due tomorrow actually, and I have an SQL test that's due Monday. And so I got a lot of assignments always due. The summertime is very packed, but as soon as I thought that to myself, oh, he turned on a girl scream, and they all started getting like all rambunctious and turning on a bunch of bullshit and frequencies and everything else. And the reason was because I thought, well, man, it's quiet. I'm going to take advantage of this. And they're like, oh no, oh no, oh no. And that's what they want to do. They want to steal every moment of your peace time to yourself, to think freely, be by yourself, to think for yourself, any of that. If you're very busy, like I could even if I'm just sitting there watching short videos on, they pretty much just watch me watch short videos. Like they want to say like, oh, you're stupid. You're watching too many short videos. And you're stupid. You're watching me watch too many short videos. You've been doing it forever. And, after a while, they might get bored with it, or like, poking at me. Hey, hey, they start acting real weird. All right, there's something wrong with them. They're mentally ill and afflicted. I'll say that they're afflicted people for real. So they're not the kind of people you'd want to associate with or hire or something like that. So of course they would become gang stalkers, because that's probably all they can do. It's the only way they can force somebody to have to put up with them, because they're so disgusting. But that's kind of sums it up, I guess, really. But that's what I'm dealing with right now, and that's this broadcast telepathy. I mean, and that's just one part of it. Then they can do all these things where they saturate broadcasts into your body to hurt you. And that's what I talk about every day on this channel and the other channel. And I know most of you guys already know the targeted individual channel, but this is the remote neural monitoring channel. And I've been trying to post more content on here, all original content on this channel. But the big channel is the targeted individual channel. If you don't know about it, go check that one out, because that one's 10 times bigger than this one. So, and I've been posts and videos on these channels for years and years and years, but the other channel is like 8 years old and like 10,000 people. And those are real people, real organic people, targeted people growing by, 2 or 3 a day, every day for all these years. So, they're all actually targeted real people, and the comments are enabled on the other channel too. So I don't want to have 4 or 5 channels that I got to keep up with all these trolls saying this and that. I just try to keep up with them on one channel. But anyway, that's about it for now. I appreciate everything, guys, and I'm going to continue to come out with these videos, and they're going to get more and more interesting as I learn more and more things with this programming stuff. And as I, every semester that goes by, 3 or 4, 2 or 3 more classes, that I'm taking in college. And I'm also studying a lot of things on the side of that. And I'm also doing a lot to become more successful in life. And so it's going to get a lot worse for them. It's going to get a lot better for us. And so the content and the things I'm talking about, it's going to get more and more interesting and more helpful, more and more useful. But just real quick, take my advice and start today. Start learning about computer stuff. That's really it. Start learning about computer stuff. It's very important. All right. Thanks for watching, and I will catch y'all on the next one.